Hi, Miss Cindy. Today we're going to paint an octopus. Okay, so everybody has their octopus traced on their board. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some white and we're going to put some white on our paper plate, and then we're going to take some pink and we're going to put some pink on our paper plate too. We're not going to mix them together. We're just going to take a little bit of both at the same time, and we're going to paint the entire octopus. Make sure you don't paint in the eyes, and make sure you don't paint in the starfish that's her little decoration on her head. So go ahead, and I would start right around the edges first and paint her pink with some white in her. You can use whichever brush is easiest for you. I'm going to see how this one goes, and then I might have to switch to a smaller one in some of the places. Okay. Just try to stay in the lines the best you can. I know I go out of the line sometimes, so it's okay if you do. I'm going to go back up and do that part later. So some of the starfish will be lighter pink, and some of it there'll be more pink to it, depending on how much white and how much pink you use. But we don't want the colors like mixed up all the way so it's just all one color. We want her to have some dark patches and some light patches. See, like that one is lighter than those two, and that's good. Okay. See, if you just put the pink and the white next to each other on the plate, you can grab both of them really easily. And don't worry about painting over the mouth. You should paint over the mouth, but you can still see it when we go back and put it on there. Okay. And try to keep your paint nice and flat with no big lumps. But it's not too big of a deal if you do have some lumps, because we're not painting really anything too much on top of the pink, so it should be okay. Okay, I'm going to turn this around so you can see it easier, and it's easier for me to paint it. See, that needs more pink over there. Go back over it. And you kind of want to try to go downward with your brush, just because it looks better if it's all going kind of the same direction. Of course, you can't when it's around the eyes and around the top of the head as much. But like when you're doing this part, just kind of go downward with your brush. Saw a big lump there, I fixed it. Like I said, if you have to switch to a smaller brush when you're doing around the starfish, okay, we're almost done. Let me turn this a little bit this way. Okay. Okay, and that is the first step. Okay, now we're going to paint the background. So take another scoop of white, and we're going to take a scoop of the blue, and we're going to take it both at the same time, but we're not going to mix it up again. Okay, I'm going to actually turn it around and start at the top, and we're going to paint just the whole background, the white and blue color. Your blue is going to be a little different than the one I originally did because I thought this was a nicer blue for it. So your blue is going to be this color, not that one. So you want to mix the white and the blue on your brush. So you have some streaks of darker, some streaks of lighter. And try to go the same direction too. And then if you need to switch to the smaller brush when you get around the sides, you can do that. Because that gets a little tricky. And if you go over into the pink, that's all right. Because the pink should probably just mix in with your blue then. It won't be really noticeable. So I'm going to do up here first. And then I'm going to finish the bottom part. Gets a little tricky going around the corners, going around the edges like that. And then make sure you don't put any paint where the starfish is going to go, because we're going to paint that in after. It's really tricky when you get near all the legs of the octopus. That's why if you need to switch to a small brush, you should. Okay, I'm going to turn her around so I can reach her better to do the bottom part. Okay. It's a little tricky in all these little spots. But don't worry, if you go over the lines, it'll be fine. That's why we started with the light color instead of the dark color, because it'll be easier. Okay. Takes a little bit of time to get all these little parts. Okay, I'm going to switch brushes. I'll switch it to this one so I can do it a little bit easier. Almost done. And just take your time on this part. You don't have to hurry. And if you ever need to stop and get caught up, you could always just pause the video and pick up where you left off. Or if you don't understand any of it, some of it, you can just also do the same thing. Pause it for a moment while you try to figure it out. Okay, almost. Okay, I think I am all done. Fix a couple spots. All right, let it sit for a minute before we go on to the next step. Okay, next we're going to paint the starfish. And I turned it around so I could reach it better. But you can do it however you want. And this time, instead of mixing white with it, we're just going to use the blue to paint the starfish. So use kind of a smaller brush, because it is a smaller thing you got to fill in. So just use the blue, no white added. And if you go over the lines, that's okay, because it's a dark color, so it'll hide where you go over the light color. Try to keep it kind of thin, don't get it too lumpy, because we're going to go back and we're going to paint white dots on it. We don't want to end up getting it mixed up. Okay. A little bit more. Okay, so once we're done with the starfish, I'm going to paint the eyes next. So the first part, actually I'm gonna Yeah, I'm gonna use this one. We're gonna use just white. If you don't have any white left on your plate, you can just go get some more out. And we're gonna paint the whole part of the background white first. And try to keep it fairly thin so when we paint the black part of the eye, the pupil, won't mix in and turn gray. So try to put all that in nice and thin. All right, so now wipe off your brush, get all the white off of it, and we're gonna use black. You might want to use a skinny brush, a small brush now, because you got to get more details on there. So first I'm going to let the eyes dry a little bit first. So I'm going to start with the mouth. And I'm going to go like that. And that. Okay, so then with the eyes, you're going to take a little bit and you're going to do right across the bottom and then across the top for the eyelashes. So across the bottom, then across the top for the eyelashes. And on my first one, I put black on the sides, but actually I didn't like it after I did it, so don't worry about doing it. And then we have to paint, I didn't draw it in, but you can just paint the pupil part of the eyes. Just keep it nice and dark. If it starts mixing in with the white, you can wait and paint it after it dries. Just make the pupil how big you want it. Put a little bit more black on this one. Okay, so now once the eyes are done, I am going to use green, and we're going to make the little spots all over them. Our octopus has little green spots. So just take a small brush, and I gave everybody green. You don't have to put it on the plate if you don't want. You can just use it right out of here. And you don't have to make them all in the same place or the same amount, but just make her have some little dots here and there. You can make them big, you can make them little. However big you want to make them, and however many you want. And she should be dry enough that they won't really mix in with the pink. And you can kind of leave them kind of thick because it really won't matter because we're not putting anything else over on top of it. So you can just kind of leave them fairly thick. Like I said, you can make them big or little, however many you want on each arm of the octopus. I don't know, I kind of seem to like the 3s, especially on the bigger arms. This one I'm going to only put 2 though, so it's a smaller arm. And I think this one I'm only going to put 2 also. Okay, so now that our green is done, we need to put the white. I'm going to turn around so I can reach it easier again. We need to put the white on for the starfish and for our bubbles. So I'm going to start out with the bubbles. So let me get a nice clean brush. Get all that green out of it that we used last. I'm just going to take the white from here. Okay, so first I'm going to make some bubbles. You just make some circles. You can make your bubbles however big you want them. I made 3. If you want more, you can make more. If you want less, you can make less. Okay, just like that. Now, for the starfish, the little dots on there, I actually have a trick. So instead of using the brush, I'm going to use the stick part. So I'm going to dunk it in the stick. I'm going to make one in the middle first, and then I'm just going to dot it. And you can just dot it towards the edge. And then when it starts getting almost out of paint, just dip it back in the paint again. And that way you get nice straight little circles. And it's a lot easier than making tiny little dots. Okay, the same thing with the middle of the eyes. We have to put the white part of her eyes in. So I'm going to take a bunch of white on there and dot it. And a bunch of white again and dot it. This one I'm going to dot a second time. There we go. Okay. So now there's a couple little touch-ups. Make sure you always wipe off the paintbrush when you dip the back of it in there like that. Because you don't want to get it all over stuff. There's a couple little touch-up parts we're going to make. And I'm going to take, see where the lines are? I'm going to take the dark pink and I'm going to kind of follow the line. Just so it looks like her leg is like up there. Because it like continues up. So I'm just going to put a little bit of dark paint on here just to highlight her legs where it's light. Not very much at all. You can kind of shadow them a little bit like that too and go all the way down the leg a little bit more. Just like that. Okay, and then I am going to use some pink mixed with white. And I'm going to sign it at the bottom. And that is it. We are all done. Thanks for coming.